This is the solution to the first challenge. Remember that I want you to struggle with these challenges. In this particular case, I don't want to discourage you, so I kept this first challenge pretty simple. All you need to really do is essentially copy the workflow, copy what we did in lesson number 3 where we built my first web app to create this new project, my first challenge, right? And so the goal here is to cement the ideas from that first app firmly in your mind before we move on to other topics. So if you did happen to get stuck, then I beg you, only watch enough of this lesson to get unstuck, and then once you figure it out, you can come back and make sure or see if you did it the same way I did it. As long as you get the same results, I don't really care if you stylistically did some things a little bit differently. That doesn't matter. But please only watch enough of this lesson to get unstuck and move forward. All right, so let's go ahead and create a new project. And we're going to call this, make sure we select the ASP.NET web application from the templates. You may need to navigate through the installed templates into Visual C# Web. Make sure that's selected correctly, and then go My First Challenge, like so, in the name of the project, and then we'll click OK. All right, and then we want to select the empty template, but choose to add folders and core references for web forms. Make sure that Host in the Cloud checkbox is deselected, and then click the OK button. Great. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is add a new web form to our project. So I'm going to right-click the project entry in the Solution Explorer and select Add Web Form. We're going to call this Default and click the OK button. Immediately we're going to move to the Design view. We'll go to the toolbox. I'll pin it down, and here we go. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. The first one is, how old are you? Space, space, and I'll go down and double-click the text box server control. I'm going to use the right arrow to move to the right side of the text box, and then hit Enter, Enter twice. And then I'm going to ask, how much money do you have in your pocket? Space, space. And I'm going to double click the text box server control from the toolbox to add it to the designer surface again. I'll use the right arrow key on my keyboard to move to the end of that line to the right of the server control. Enter, enter. I'm going to add a button, so I'm going to double click the button in the toolbox. Add the button to the form. I'm going to use the right arrow once again to move to the right of that button, enter, enter, and then finally I'm going to find the label control, double click it, and now we're going to want to go back and go ahead and let's turn auto hide back on and get rid of it. Get rid of the toolbox. Now I'm going to select the first text box, and I want to change its programmatic ID. I don't care what you call this. You could call it your first name for all I care. Typically, you want to use a name that indicates the type of server control it is, like text box, and then its purpose. So I start with the purpose. In this case, it's going to be the age text box. All right? And so I hit Enter on my keyboard to cement that setting in there. And now we're going to select the next text box. I'm going to change its name to, change its name to the money text box and hit enter. We're going to change this programmatic ID to OK button, and I want to change its text value to click me to see your fortune. All right, makes a big button, but that's the text that was what we required in this lesson. And then finally, I'm going to select the label. I'm going to call this the result label. Again, you can call it anything you want, but it is where we're going to display the result in a label, so that's why I named it like that. And then we'll go up to the text and remove its initial value, remove that default text that said label. All right, I'm going to save what I have so far, and then I'm going to double click on this button to create an event handler called OK button _ click. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is string age equals age text box dot text, string money equals money text box dot text. Okay, next we're going to go string result equals at space. So we're going to create that first literal string at with a space to space it all out nicely, plus age, the age string, plus space years old, comma, I would have expected you to have more than space, I'll go outside of the double quote on the end, plus money, the money variable, plus space in your pocket. Go to the end of the line, add a semicolon, enter, enter, and now we will type the final line, which is the result label dot text equals our result, and then semicolon. Okay? So now let's see if we did this correctly. I'm going to go ahead and run it in Internet Explorer. All right, so nothing is stopping me from writing anything I want to in these text boxes yet, but that's where validation comes in, a whole other topic later on. Just wanted to point that out real quick. So I could type in gobbledygook, but I'll follow it. I want to get a good fortune here. And so I'll even format the dollars nicely like so. And then I'm going to click the button to see my fortune. And it says, at 44 years old, I would have expected you to have more than $6 in your pocket. More of an insult than a fortune, but at any rate, there you go. That's the solution. Hope you got it. I think you probably could have. Just a matter of paying attention to that lesson number 3 and lesson number 4 where we explain what we were doing. You have these cemented in your mind? If not, try this exercise again. Maybe wait till tomorrow and try doing it again just to make sure you get it firmly ensconced in your mind, or go off and create your own application. You've got a few tools now at your disposal. Go ahead and build a Mad Libs style application where you ask people for various pieces of information and then you arrange them into some paragraph in a very humorous sort of way. Okay, Mad Libs. All right, so we'll pick it back up in the next lesson. We'll see you there. Thank you.